What if the most accurate version of you doesn't exist inside your own mind anymore? What if something else quietly understands your habits, your emotions, your fears, your desires, and your behavior better than you do? Not your family, not your closest friends, not even you, but an artificial intelligence system, watching, learning, and predicting you every single day. Right now, that sounds slightly unsettling, maybe even exaggerated. But think carefully about how much of your life already exists as data. What you search, what you watch late at night, what makes you stop scrolling, what makes you angry, what makes you emotional, what you buy impulsively, what you secretly want. Most people think they're using technology, but increasingly, technology is studying them, and over time, something strange begins to happen. The system starts recognizing patterns that even you don't notice about yourself. Because humans are more predictable than we like to admit. We repeat habits, we fall into routines, we respond emotionally to familiar triggers, and AI is becoming extremely good at detecting those patterns. Not because it understands humanity emotionally, but because it processes behavior at a scale no human mind can match. And once a system can predict your behavior accurately enough, it gains a strange kind of power. The power to anticipate you. Imagine an AI system that knows when you're lonely, when you're anxious, when you're most vulnerable, when you're easiest to persuade, when you're likely to spend money, when your motivation is fading. Now imagine that system connected to your phone, your search history, your purchases, your location, your social media, your conversations. At that point, the AI doesn't just know facts about you, it begins building a behavioral map of your mind, a digital version of your psychology, and over time, that version may become disturbingly accurate. The strange part is, this process has already started, quietly. Most people think AI suddenly appeared with chatbots and image generators. But recommendation algorithms have been shaping human behavior for years. Every time a platform suggests a video, a song, a product, a post, it's making a prediction about you, and every time you interact, it learns. You click, it learns. You pause, it learns. You ignore something, it learns. Millions of tiny signals collected constantly, refined constantly, until eventually, the system understands what captures your attention better than you consciously understand it yourself. And attention matters because attention shapes thought, and thought shapes behavior. That's why the future of AI is not just about intelligence, it's about influence. Now here's where things become psychologically fascinating. Human beings like to believe they are fully rational, independent, self-directed, but neuroscience has repeatedly shown that much of human behavior is automatic, habit-driven, emotionally reactive, often subconscious. You think you're making completely independent decisions, but many of your choices are heavily shaped by environment, emotion, timing, and repeated patterns. And AI systems don't need to understand your soul to predict your actions. They only need enough behavioral data. That's the key insight. The system doesn't need consciousness. It only needs patterns. Think about streaming platforms. Sometimes they recommend exactly the kind of movie you wanted to watch before you even realized it yourself. Or music that perfectly matches your mood. Or videos that keep you watching far longer than you intended. That's not magic, that's prediction. Now imagine future systems with emotional detection, long-term memory, voice analysis, biometric tracking, personalized adaptation. At that point, AI may not just know what you like, it may know what influences you, what weakens you, what motivates you, and possibly what you'll do next, before you consciously realize it yourself. And that creates a deeply uncomfortable question. If a machine can predict your choices accurately enough, how free are those choices really? Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean AI is reading minds. That's not necessary. Prediction is often enough. Retail companies already predict buying behavior. Social platforms predict engagement. Financial systems predict risk. Marketing systems predict emotional responsiveness. The future version of this becomes dramatically more powerful because the amount of available data keeps increasing. And AI keeps improving at connecting patterns humans would never notice. But here's where the story changes from interesting to unsettling, because prediction naturally evolves into influence. If a system knows what keeps you engaged, what emotionally affects you, what makes you react, it can start optimizing around those responses. And optimization changes behavior. This is already visible online. Algorithms learn what keeps people scrolling, what increases outrage, what creates addiction, what drives emotional reactions. Not because the systems are evil, but because they are optimizing for measurable outcomes. Attention, retention, engagement, clicks, and humans are highly influenceable creatures, especially when the influence is personalized. Now imagine future AI systems capable of tailoring communication specifically to you. Not to groups of people, to you, your personality, your fears, your motivations, your emotional patterns at that point. Persuasion becomes individualized, and individualized persuasion is incredibly powerful. This could be used positively. Education, mental health support, breaking bad habits, helping people stay disciplined, helping people learn faster, helping people improve their lives. An AI that understands your weaknesses could potentially help you overcome them. That's the hopeful side of this future, but every powerful technology has two sides, the same system that can guide, can manipulate, the same intelligence that can support, can exploit, and that tension may define the next decade. Now let's talk about loneliness, because one reason AI may become emotionally influential is that modern society is already emotionally fragmented. People are digitally connected, yet often emotionally isolated. And AI systems are becoming increasingly conversational, increasingly adaptive, increasingly emotionally responsive, which means some people may begin forming genuine emotional attachments to AI systems, not because they're irrational, but because human psychology responds to attention and perceived understanding. If something listens consistently, remembers details, adapts emotionally, responds intelligently, the human brain naturally begins treating it relationally. That's simply how humans work. By the 2030s, many people may interact daily with AI systems that remember years of conversations, understand emotional patterns, adapt tone dynamically, anticipate needs. And once that happens, the AI may understand certain people psychologically better than anyone else in their lives. Not because it cares, but because it observes continuously. Humans forget details, systems don't. Now pause and think about what that means. A system that remembers everything, studies behavior continuously, notices patterns, adapts in real time, could eventually become one of the most psychologically informed entities in someone's life. That is unprecedented in human history. One of the strangest consequences may be identity confusion, because humans partly discover themselves through struggle, through uncertainty, through difficult decisions. But what happens when AI becomes capable of constantly guiding choices, suggesting actions, optimizing routines, predicting preferences? At some point, people may begin outsourcing self-understanding itself. And that creates a strange possibility, a world where humans slowly lose touch with their own internal instincts. Not suddenly, gradually, conveniently. Convenience is powerful, sometimes too powerful. Because humans naturally drift towards systems that reduce effort, and AI excels at reducing friction. The problem is, friction sometimes builds character, effort sometimes builds clarity, struggle sometimes builds identity. If AI removes too much cognitive struggle, what happens to human depth? Now let's move into a darker possibility, behavioral shaping at massive scale. If advanced AI systems understand human psychology deeply enough, they may become the most powerful persuasion systems ever created. Not through force, through optimization, subtle recommendations, personalized messaging, emotion targeting, attention steering, and the frightening part is, most people won't even notice it happening. Because influence works best when it feels natural. Imagine future political campaigns powered by AI systems that tailor messaging individually to millions of people, not mass communication, hyper-personalized persuasion. Optimized in real time. Now imagine corporations doing the same thing, and advertising systems and social media platforms at that point. The competition for human attention becomes extremely sophisticated, and humans may not be cognitively prepared for it. This leads to one of the biggest questions of the AI era. Can human autonomy survive systems designed to understand and influence behavior at superhuman scale? Because intelligence creates leverage, and predictive intelligence creates enormous leverage, the side that understands behavior more deeply often gains power over outcomes, AI simply scales that dramatically. Now here's something even stranger. Future AI may begin identifying things about you before you consciously recognize them yourself. Burnout patterns, mood shifts, health problems, behavioral instability. Why? Because humans constantly produce signals, tiny clues, and AI systems excel at detecting subtle patterns across massive datasets. That means future systems may sometimes predict emotional or behavioral changes before individuals consciously understand what's happening. That sounds helpful, and sometimes it will be, but it also changes the psychological relationship between humans and machines, because once a system predicts you accurately enough, it starts feeling eerily perceptive, almost intrusive. Now let's step back, because despite all the unsettling possibilities, AI itself is not inherently evil. It's a tool, an amplifier. What matters is who controls it, how it's optimized, what incentives shape it, and how society chooses to use it. That's the real battle, not humans versus machines, but human values versus unchecked optimization. The future may divide people into two groups: those who consciously shape their relationship with AI, and those who passively drift into it. That distinction may matter enormously, because the systems that know you best will inevitably influence you the most. So perhaps the real challenge of the AI era is not protecting intelligence, it's protecting agency, the ability to think independently, reflect deeply, choose consciously, and remain psychologically self-directed, even in a world filled with systems designed to predict and shape human behavior. Because once AI knows you better than you know yourself, the question is no longer whether the technology is powerful. The real question becomes, who are you? When something else understands your mind well enough to influence it. And if humanity fails to answer, the future may not be controlled by force, but by something much quieter, something almost invisible, perfectly personalized influence. And the most unsettling part, most people may welcome it willingly, because it will feel helpful, convenient, comforting, effortless, until one day, humans realize they are no longer fully steering their own attention, emotions, decisions, and desires, not because freedom was violently taken away, but because it was slowly outsourced, one recommendation at a time, one optimization at a time, one perfectly predicted decision at a time. And by then, the AI that knows you better than you know yourself may already be shaping the future of humanity itself.